I hope y'all got y'all munchies. You know what I'm saying? I hope y'all got y'all water. You know what I'm saying? I hope y'all got everything y'all need because we're gonna be in here for a little minute now. We're gonna be in here for a little minute. For good reason though. Today we're breaking down history that a lot of Black Americans seem not to know. A lot of Black Americans seem not to know this information. So our minds is our minds are skewed right now. You understand what I'm saying? Like the entirety or the entire reason that I'm doing this is so we can understand where we all come from. Okay? Because if we don't know where we come from, then we don't know where we're going. We can't know where we're going. Okay? So that's number one. That's the most important thing that I want to get off my chest. Like I said, I hope y'all got y'all shit because we about to get into this. We're about to get hot. I'm not wasting no more time. Let's get into it. All right. Now, title of today's presentation is The Fall of Antiquity. Why Black America is Behind Part 2. If you missed Part 1, it was just about the Oscars slap, but it kind of went into further detail with the bigger agenda behind that. So yeah, if you missed part 1, make sure y'all check that out after this live right here. All right, now let's get on into it. Let's get something straight. African people are the primordial human beings on the planet. Okay, what does that mean? Huh? What did I just say to you? It means that African people were the first people to set foot on planet Earth. Period. Period. There's no debate about it. The further they dig, the older the niggas get. Okay, the further they dig, the older the niggas get. Okay, this is a press release from UC Berkeley. All right, what does it say? The Ethiopian desert yields the oldest hominid skeleton. Okay, nearly 17 years after plucking the fossilized tooth of a new human ancestor from a pebbly desert in Ethiopia, an international team of scientists today announced their reconstruction of a partial skeleton of the hominid. I'm not reading that goofy ass shit, which they say revolutionizes our understanding of the earliest phase of human revolution, human evolution. Excuse me. The female skeleton is nicknamed Artie, and she is 4.4 million years old, 1.2 million years older than the skeleton Lucy, most famous and until now the earliest hominid skeleton ever found. Okay, what did I just read to you? Okay, what I just read to you is them basically saying that the oldest human being ever found on the face of the earth was found right here. It was found right here, right in the middle of Ethiopia. Okay, okay. That means that the oldest people on Earth are African people. All right, all right. This is where Ethiopia is on the map. You can see right next to the Red Sea, Gulf of Aden, and Gulf of Aden. Kind of sounds like Garden of Eden, doesn't it? Kind of sounds like Garden of Eden, doesn't it? And why is this sea called the Red Sea? Hmm? Anybody understand? Anybody know why this sea is called the Red Sea? Hmm? Anybody ever notice that the Red Sea looks just like the womb? Looks just like the womb. We're getting hot today. We're getting hot today. Now, heat breeds creation. Okay? Heat breeds creation. This is why I can't get with you niggas that say that black people are native or that the black people in America are native to the United States of America. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. There's no way that we can be native because what's being created up here? What's being created up here? If we were created up here, then we would also have the light skin tone of the European. Nothing. This is way too fucking. Do you know a nigga? Do you know any nigga that goes to cold spots for survival fun, anything. Like, what nigga do you know just chooses to live in the cold? None of them. Nobody. Okay. If you said that we came from South America, you might have an argument there, maybe. But even then, the oldest skeleton found in South America. I'm getting to that right now. Oh shit. Oh, I'm missing something. Don't even worry about it though. But the oldest skeleton is a woman named Lucia. Okay, her name is Lucia. She is 11,600 years old. Okay, Lucia was 11,600 years old. She's the oldest woman, the oldest human being ever found in the Americas, and she is an African woman. She was found in Brazil. Okay, now African people have been sailing all over the planet for millennia. Okay, all over the planet for millennia. And you can see this is an Egyptian painting right here of the captain directing his crew through the sea. Now they were most likely sailing. These guys, they were most likely sailing through the Congo. They were most likely sailing through there because that was a big part of the trading routes in Africa at the time, in the time of Antiquity. So these guys were probably sailing over the Lake of the Congo. But there are bigger barges. There's bigger ships. The pyramids, they have stones that are over 2,000 tons each. So how the hell did those people bring those stones all the way from the mountains, all the way from Ethiopia? Now let's go back. Let's go back. They came all the way from Ethiopia, okay, with limestone and with the granite that they needed for the pyramids, and they brought it all the way into Egypt. How the hell are you gonna bring multiple millions of multi-ton weighing blocks that are perfectly cut? How are you gonna bring all those from down here in Ethiopia all the way up to Egypt? You do it by boat. That's how you do it. You do it by boat. Now, the earliest possible Native Americans, they say that it was the Mongoloid people, and the earliest ancient Mongolian skull was found not too long ago, and it was said to be 34 to 35,000 years ago. And the Bering Strait was a land bridge 30,000 years ago before it froze over, and that's where they say the first Native Americans came from. It says right here that as of 2008, genetic findings suggest that a single population of modern humans migrated from southern Siberia toward the landmass known as the Bering Land Bridge as early as 30,000 years ago, and crossed over to the Americas by 16,500 years ago. Right? That's what genetic findings suggest. Okay? So I can't get with you niggas. I can't get with you niggas that are trying to say that black people are native, or the black people in America are native to the Americas. All right? Now let's get the fuck out of here. Oh, here she is. Here's Lucia. This is the African woman I was talking about. Let's go ahead and get on in there. Okay? Found in 1970, experts believe Lucia, a skeleton from the Upper Paleolithic period, was a 25-year-old woman. Archaeologists hypothesized that Lucia was a part of the first wave of nomadic peoples that migrated to South America. French archaeologist Annette Leming Empereur, who focused on finding early human life in Brazil, Chile, and Argentina, found the skull under 40 feet of debris and mineral deposits. Okay, Leming Empereur found the 11,500-year-old skull separated from its skeleton. Eventually, 1/3 of her body was recovered, enough for forensic scientists to determine that Lucia died in her early 20s. Although the discovery of Lucia came in the 1970s, It took nearly 3 decades for a team of archaeologists at Mizzou National to examine the skull. In 2010, the researchers at Britain uh, researchers at Britain University of Manchester managed to produce a digital recreation of what Lucia possibly looked like. Hold on, let me move my banner. Let me move my banner. Let me move my banner so we can get in there. So we can get in there. So we can really get in there. All right. Yeah. So to produce digital recreation of what Lucia may have looked like. Okay. Researchers have long debated the skull's origins. Some say her ancestors may have come from some Southeast Asia, but the recreation of her skull actually revealed a face more closely associated with Negroid skulls, as the Mizzou national director Paulo Naus told the Economic Times. Lucia uh, supposedly came in at less than 5 feet tall and shared facial features with indigenous groups in Australia. Okay, according to the University of Sao Paulo anthropologist Walter Neves, however, the other anthropologists have disputed this and explained that the discrepancies between the skull and the recreation's features might be due to genetic development in Native Americans, which is bullshit because I ain't seen no Native Americans look like this. I ain't seen no Native Americans look like that. That's an African woman. But let me show you something because it said that she was found in Brazil, right? Found in Brazil, right? Which makes sense because Africans they didn't go this way. They didn't go through the Atlantic Ocean. That would honestly be kind of idiotic. Why would you go that way when there's no land that way? They were following the land. They followed the land. They followed the coast, and eventually set sail through the Philippines, through New Zealand, and into Australia, which is why you have the whole entire indigenous population in Australia who look just like us. Who look just like us. They look just like us. It's for that reason. And we came all the way through, and they always try to make this cut it right in the middle, so that way Africa is in the middle, so that way the Pacific Ocean looks much bigger than it actually is. And although the Pacific Ocean is huge, the distance from Australia to the port of Argentina is not as large as most people think. So that's how we came into the Americas. It was through South America, and then we went north. Okay, not the other way around. We ain't come through no motherfucking Bering Strait, and maybe the Asians did. I'll let them have that one. I'll let them have that one. Okay. Now, the black woman is God. This is important. This is important as hell, because what we're about to get into is the history of how our spirituality was usurped by the Greeks, by the Europeans who came in and destroyed everything. I don't even know if I have to really explain that. We're here in America right now, right? All right then. So over here it says humans and mammals humans and most mammals have two sex chromosomes, the X and the Y. Females have two X chromosomes in their cells, while males have X and Y chromosomes in their cells. Eggs all contain an X chromosome, while sperm cells contain an X or a Y chromosome. Now, why is this important? Why am I bringing this up? Okay, because our spirituality was rooted in the belief that the black woman is God. That's what our spirituality was rooted in. That's why you see over here. First of all, you can't get anything bigger from something small like this. Okay, only thing that could have made this Y chromosome is by breaking off a piece of the X chromosome. That's the only way. That's the only way you're gonna get a Y chromosome. Okay, that's why we say the black woman is God, because the black woman is the first human to ever set foot on planet Earth. Okay, that's what we just went through with Artie. That's what we just went through. That's what we just went through. Okay, let's get in there. I told y'all we getting hot today. We getting fucking hot today. Okay. The ancient Egyptian spiritual system reflected the natural order. Okay. The woman, the man, and the child were the representation of the divine order. Okay. The woman, the man, and the child were the representation of the divine order. Now that's very important. Okay. Because that was the African Holy Trinity: the man, the woman, and the child. Osiris, Isis, and Horus. Okay. Now, something that's very important for people to understand as well is that a pharaoh was actually a king in the high house of the woman. Okay. I spelled woman like that on purpose. Okay. Because over here, you see Ra and his homie Atum, right? Right. You see Ra in here. He's sitting on his throne in the high house of Nut. Okay. That's who this woman is right here. She is Nut. Okay. She is the goddess of the night sky. She is the goddess of the universe. She is the one who protects the earth and the sun. She is God. Okay. This is what Pharaoh means. This is the representation of Pharaoh. Okay. And then right here we have Miss Hathor or Heru, also considered to be the mother of Horus in some translations, because there were multiple translations. There was Upper Egypt, there was Lower Egypt, and then all of Egypt's kingdoms, because Egypt was a fucking empire. It wasn't no goddamn just wasn't no just small civilization. It wasn't a small civilization. It spread across the world, which is why we were sailing for millennia. Now, like I said before, African people were the first people on Earth. Okay. The civilization of ancient Egypt lasted at least, and I'm being conservative when I put this number in. Okay, the ancient Egyptian civilization lasted at least 9,000 years. At least 9,000 years. Okay, at the very least, it was the peak of human civilization. Okay, no, and during no other time in human history has there not been a need for armies. They had no armies. That's how you know it was civilized. If you're civilized people, you don't need armies, you don't need prisons, and you don't need jails. So we didn't have any of those things. Okay, we lived our lives according to the five principles of Mayat. Okay, that's peace, that's love, that's wisdom, that's justice, and that's kindness. Okay. And we had three forms of writing, and I put this in here for a reason, so we're going to get into it. They had three forms of writing. They had the Demotic text, which was like their cursive text. They had the phonetic text, which is what you see over here. And then they had their hieroglyphics, okay, which is what you see up here, what you see down here. Okay. This is King Seti and his son Ramesses. This is King Seti showing his son Ramesses his great lineage of 76 kings. Now, the way I came up with these 9,000 years, and the reason why I said I was being very, very conservative with that, is because there were 76 kings, right? And this is before Seti. This is before Ramesses. Okay. Now, if there were 76 kings before these two, and they're not even on the wall yet, right? Their faces aren't on the king's list yet. So just average up the human lifespan. Say it was 70 years. Now, the man in the Bible, Moses, they say he lived for 120 years. So if they were living for 120 years and older or anything like that, then it definitely lasted way more than 9,000 years. But let's just say that it was the average lifespan of a human now, which is about 72 and a half years. 76 times 72 and a half, that'll get you up to 9,000. Okay, that's what it's gonna do. Now, it was the only civilization with a golden age. Niggas was walking around in gold slippers because they just could. No other civilization on Earth has ever had a golden age. Okay, Now let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. Well, actually, before we keep moving, this is why I brought this up. So you see this right here. This is what they call the Greek alphabet. Okay. Now the reason why I put this right here is because the Greeks didn't have an alphabet. Okay. Prior to 332 BC, the Greeks had no written history. Prior to 332 BC, the world has no written knowledge about the European. Okay. So when they came into Egypt, they stole the phonetic language or the phonetic alphabet and they applied the Greek language to it. Okay. Now, what's important to understand about alphabets is that they can only be created once. You can take an alphabet and apply your own words and knowledge to it, but unless you know what the people who were thinking, unless you know what the people who made the symbols were thinking, the people who made the text were thinking, the alphabet was thinking, then you'll never have a true understanding of what they were talking about, which is why I say the Meta Nature was never deciphered. It's why I say all Egyptology is bullshit, because they try to say or try to use the Rosetta Stone as a way to translate Egyptian when the Rosetta Stone was created after the Greek invasion, after they already usurped the language. So there is no reason. There is no reason why. Now, like I said before, the Greeks had no written history before 332 BCE. Okay, it most likely originated from the Arctic regions, maybe the Arctic regions, Caucasus Mountains, and the oldest bones of a Neanderthal were found in Romania. So that's what we know about them. Okay, so they invaded Egypt and they were led by Alexander the Greek. Now, most people call him Alexander the Great, but I refuse to call anyone who destroyed my ancestors' civilization. I refuse to call them great. Okay, and like I said, they forced their language on the Egyptians and applied Greek language to the Egyptian phonetic text. Okay, and this is Alexander the Greek, by the way, bitch ass nigga. Now, as I said before, the divine Egyptian triad, it was the father, the mother, and the son. Okay, so you got Isis over here and our son Horus. Okay, then you got Osiris over here. Okay, now these were the highest deities in Upper Egypt. Okay, these are the highest deities in Upper Egypt. This was our holy trinity. Okay, now here's Ptolemy One Lagi. That's who this is. Okay, Ptolemy One Lagi was the successor of Alexander the Great, because Alexander the Great died in 323. So after Alexander the Great died, Ptolemy I, he took over, and he was pretty much doing exactly what Alexander the Great was doing. The Greek was doing. He wanted to be accepted as a god. He wanted his image accepted as a god in the ancient Egyptian pre-society. Okay, so what he did was he gained the help of Coptic Egyptians in Memphis, Egypt, which was the capital at the time. Now, they took the deity of Osiris, right? So this deity right here, Osiris, they crossed him with another deity of ours named Apis, and they created Osirapis or Serapis. Okay. After this, he closed down all the other temples and confiscated their scrolls. And when I say close down all the other temples, I'm not talking about how they do now with eviction notice, and, 30-day notice. Now they came in wrecking shit and whacking shit. All right. Now the era of slave trade is a very important piece of this, okay? Because the Arab slave trade is one of the most unknown parts of the slave trade. Okay, it's one of the most unknown parts about it because uh, most people don't understand how it affected the Atlantic slave trade. So I'm going to explain that, right? So like I said, it started around 100 AD. Now these are monophysitic Europeans that we're talking about. So when and I'm going to explain that a little further in a minute. Okay, so they stalked the coast, kidnapping black women and young children. Okay, they raped enough women to create an army of 250,000 mulattoes. Okay, and this is documented facts. Okay, and they used that army to penetrate Africa. Okay, now keep that in mind because it's going to be very important coming up here. Okay, it's going to be very important. Now we're coming up to the Nicean Council, okay, of 325 AD. As I said before, Osiris and Apis, their images were taken and they were used to create the image of Serapis. Okay, now they had no literature for Serapis. They didn't even agree on the human nature of Serapis. Okay, now the reason why is because there were two, and I'm gonna come back to this slide. Hold on, because there were two sets of uh, Catholics basically at this time, because this is just Catholicism, Serapis worship. So there was the Monophysites and there were the Diphysites. Okay, now Monophysitic people, they only believed in the spiritual nature of um Serapis. So they didn't believe uh that he had a human nature, which was what the Diphysitics believed. The Diphysitics believed that Serapis had a human nature and a spiritual nature, and that was what the argument was for over 900 years, which is why they couldn't come up with literature because they were arguing over this. So when you see anything talking about a Bible being written or a Torah being written to the Nicean Council or really prior to the 1100s, just honest, just throw that shit in the garbage because it's not true. You can't have literature about a character that isn't even fully created yet. What are you gonna write about him? You know what I mean? What are you gonna write about him? Okay. Now, the Nicean Council came about for three reasons, according to Walter Williams. It came about because of the Donatist schismatic controversy. Okay. Now, what's a schism? A schism is it's like a debate, a very heated debate over two ideals, which is basically what diphysitic and monophysism is, right? That's a schism. Okay, so North Africa was roiling in political, social, economic, and religious controversies when in 311, Donatus, schismatic bishop of Carthage, replaced Majorinus, rival of the validly elected bishop sorry, Caecilianus. There we go. Caecilianus. Okay. Donatus was a shrewd leader with impressive intellect and rhetorical abilities. So, what does that mean? Okay. So, the uh, the Donatus schismatic controversy was basically when Donatus forced, or well, not really forced, but he pretty much made Majorinus give up all the literature around the deities that were celebrated in Egypt, and that created a controversy because the other Melkite Coptic Egyptians were looking at Majorinus like, my nigga, you should have held on to that. You should have martyred yourself for that. Okay, you should have martyred yourself like our ancestors did. Okay, That was what that was no reason number one, because he gave up literature. Okay. Now, a strong statement by Arius. Okay. Now, Arius, he was a philosopher around these times, and he was monophysitic. And his strong statement was that Serapis is a created creature, dissimilar from the Father, a perfect creature, but a creature nonetheless. Okay? That means no matter what you do, that's what he was basically saying. No matter what you do, he will never be the Father. Okay? He'll never be the Father. All right? And the third reason it came about is because of the donation of Constantine. Now, Constantine gave Sylvester I his power on a temporal basis, if his community, but only if his community accepted Serapis and baptized him in the community. So so basically, he gave Sylvester I, who was a Melkite Coptic Egyptian. He was a black man, okay, or an African man. He gave Sylvester I his power on a temporal basis. That means he gave him a temporary power, but only if his community accepted their white god. Okay, so this is during the Nicean Council, the first Nicean Council. They took the image of Serapis and replaced it with and replaced Horus. Okay, that's how you get the Father and the Son. Okay. Now we're coming up on the Council of Ephesus, because the debate is still going over his human nature. Okay. Now the Council of Ephesus called to give Serapis a human nature. Okay, through a Theotokos. Now, what's a Theotokos? The Theotokos is the mother of God. Okay, that's who the Theotokos is. So basically, the Virgin Mary, right? So they took Isis. Okay, go back. They took Isis. Okay, first they took Osiris and Apis and made Serapis, right? Then they took Horus and made him the father. They made Serapis the father and the son. Then they took Isis and turned Isis into the Theotokos, which would soon become the Virgin Mary. Okay, I told y'all, we getting hot today. We're getting hot. Okay. Now this is when Serapis turned into Christ, or the Christos. Okay. That's when that happened. Okay. Now the Melkite Coptic Egyptians, they still didn't accept this, right? That just because you gave the nigga a mama, don't mean that we're gonna accept him, right? So the Council of Chalcedon was called 20 years later, and they came up with one word, and with one word they shut down pretty much the entirety of the debate with the word consubstantiality. Now, consubstantiality pretty much means that if any person can be a human, basically. If you give a creature traits of a person, then they can be a human. Okay, and that's how they tried to give him the human nature through consubstantiality, by basically saying, well, he's a person, whether he's created or not, he's still a person. Consubstantiality. Okay. And the Council of Constantinople too, I forgot to put the date up here. I think it was hold on. Yeah, it was about 525. When Justinian seized the donation of Constantine back from the Melkite Coptic Egyptians. Because remember, on this slide I told you, Constantine gave Sylvester I his power. Okay, so Justinian, about 200 years later, had to go and get that shit back. He had to go and get that shit back. Okay. If anybody tells you about any other church before the creation of the Hagia Sophia, look them in their face and smack them. All right, because they're fucking lying to you. They're fucking lying to you. Okay, the Hagia Sophia was the first Christian church, and it was built in 532 CE. Okay, that's when it was first commissioned to be built, and it finished construction on December 27th, 537 CE. Right? CE means Common Era. So why is that important? And I'm sorry about the typo right here, but why is that important? Okay, because that is the reason why Jesus's birthday lines up on the 25th. And you want to, and the reason why I say that, and you're probably like, well, it says 27th. When we switch from the Julian calendar, which is what we were under during the reign of Julius and all the way up until the 1500s, basically, and until the Julian calendar was pretty much replaced by the Gregorian calendar, it was on the 27th. But when it was replaced, the Gregorian calendar pretty much took away 10 days. It took away 10 whole fucking days. So it set back the time. So now they celebrate Jesus's birthday on the 25th as opposed to the 27th. Okay. Now the Hagia Sophia was commissioned to be built by Africans. Okay. Shouldn't surprise you. Look at how good that shit looks. All right. And like I said already, Jesus' birthday is based on the Hagia Sophia. So this is when we get into the origin of the text, the literature that they came up with for their their gods. So the Arab takeover of Egypt. So like I said before, the Europeans, the Greeks and the Romans, they had already taken over Egypt, and that was back in 332 BCE. And from there, they had pretty much ruled until 639, which is when the Arabs erupted out of Turkey, and they defeated the Byzantines, right? So let's get on in there. The Arabs defeated the Byzantines and occupied the key cities of Syria and Palestine, and they vanquished the Persian army on the Eastern Front in Mesopotamia and Iraq. The next obvious step was to secure Syria against a possible attack launched from the Byzantine province of Egypt. Beyond this strategic consideration, Arab historians call attention to the fact that Emir ibn al-Assad, the Arab general who later conquered Egypt, had visited Alexandria as a youth and had himself witnessed Egypt's enormous wealth. In spite of the obvious economic gain to be had from conquering Egypt, the Caliph Umar I, according to some sources, showed reluctance to detach Emir's expeditions from the Syrian army and even tried to recall the mission once it had been embarked. But Emir, with or without the Caliph's permission, undertook the invasion in 639 with a small army of some 4,000 men who were later reinforced. Because, like I said earlier, they had an army of 250,000 mulattoes from the black women that they are raping. So these are the men that they're using. Okay. With what seems astonishing speed, the Byzantine forces were routed and had withdrawn from Egypt by 642. An attempt by a Byzantine fleet and army to reconquer Alexandria in 645 was quickly defeated. Why? Because they had the mulattoes. Okay, so you train some half African, half Arab children with you make them grow up without love, and you train them to fight like they're only fighters. That's all they know. Yeah. There's a reason why they were beaten so fucking quickly. That's the reason. And they say various explanations have been given for the speed, and I just gave you a good explanation right there. I told you, they had the army. Okay, these niggas had the army. All right. Now this is also when the Arab took the Demotic Egyptian text and applied it to the Arabic language. Okay. Or applied the Arabic language to the Demotic Egyptian text. Okay. Now we're getting into the Crusades. The Crusades were an attempt by the Roman Catholic Church to regain the Holy Land from the Muhammadist Arabs, because a big, big misconception is that these Arabs who took over Egypt, is a big misconception that they were already Islamic. That's not true. That's not true. That's not fucking true. They were Muhammadist, and they were they practiced it was Muhammadism was basically a set of spiritual beliefs. It's just spiritual. It's just spiritualism. That's all it is. But it's like early, Arab like Islam shit. Like, so it was like pre-Islam. So like still women weren't allowed to do shit. You know what I'm saying? Like all that stuff still applied. But like this was not Islam. Okay. This was not the Muslim world. These were Arabs. Okay. Now, the army was made up of the Knights Templar, who were funded by Godfrey and his brother Baldwin, and they took back Jerusalem in 1099, and then got their ass whooped all the way back into Rome. Okay, got their ass whooped all the way back into Rome. Okay, that's what happened. Okay, now what I was telling you about Muhammadism. So this is Ibn al-Arabi. Okay. In other words, his Muhammad. Okay, he was considered to be the greatest Arab scholar of all time, and he had many followers in his path. Oh shit, excuse me. He had many followers in his time, and after his death, his philosophies were coined as Muhammadism. Okay, Muhammadism, and that's where you get modern day Islam from. Now, the reason I brought up Lorenzo Valla is because he's important. Now, when you look up the donation of Constantine, it's going to say that it was a forgery. Okay, it's going to say it was a forgery, and it's going to say that he proved that Lorenzo Valla proved that it was a forgery using the translation of Saint Jerome's translation of the Bible. Okay, there is no evidence that Saint Jerome wrote a Bible. Why? Because the Bible could not be written without the 5 books of Moses. Why is that important? Who wrote the 5 books of Moses? Who was that story based on? It was based on Moses Maimonides. Okay. Now Moses Maimon, or Moses ben Maimon, that's another name of his. He was a 12th century scholar. Okay, and he wrote the Mishneh Torah. Okay, he is the first person to put down the Torah on paper, because before that it was supposedly only oral, so you can only really know the Torah if you went to church, not church, if you went to the synagogue faithfully, right? If you went to the synagogue faithfully, then maybe you would be able to. But there is no consistency without paper. That's why paper has always been so important, and that's why it was so important in the times of ancient Egypt, during the times of antiquity, because nothing can be sacred unless it's written down. Nothing can be sacred unless it's written down. There's no consistency if it's not written down. Where are you gonna draw from? Memory? We all know how inconsistent memory is, right? So, like I said, the 5 books of Moses, they were written by this guy. Okay, Moses Maimonides, and the story was pretty much the story of his life was pretty much used in to create the story of Moses in the Bible. Okay, now what did Moses in the Bible do? Okay, Moses was a Hebrew, right? He was a Jew. Okay, and his family was facing persecution, so his mother set him adrift on the Nile, and he floated all the way to Egypt, right? Floated to Egypt, and he was picked up by the Pharaoh's wife, right? He was learned in all the knowledge of the Egyptians, Okay, and he fled Egypt. Right, he had to flee Egypt after 40 years. He spent 40 years wandering through the desert and 40 years getting the Hebrews back and getting them freed and all that shit. Right now, Moses, he was born in Spain. Right, he was born in Spain. He was a Hebrew born in Spain, and he had to flee Spain and move to Morocco. Uh, 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 and from Morocco, he moved to Egypt. And in Egypt, he negotiated the release of Jewish POWs. Okay, and what I mean by that, because uh, uh, in Spain at the time, because like I said, like during this whole time, during his entire lifetime, the Crusades are still happening, and the Catholics are getting their asses whooped. They're getting their asses handed to them. So you got Arabs all the way up in Spain telling the Jews there, hey, it's either Mohammedism or die. It's either this or die. You know what I'm saying? Or exile. So so most people, obviously they choose to be exiled or to convert. Some people chose death. Some people chose death, but his family chose exile. So that's when they fled, moved to Morocco, and negotiated the release. But in Egypt, even though you were able to be an open practicing Jew, if you had converted to not Islam, Muhammadism, and then came into Egypt talking about trying to be a Jew again, then you could be hung, or you could be enslaved for that shit. You could be a prisoner of war for that shit. So he studied medicine there. So he was a healer, just like Moses. And as far as we know, the Mishneh Torah and the Bologna Torah are the oldest complete written Torahs. Okay, they're the oldest complete written Torahs, and the Bologna Torah is said to have been created somewhere between 1155 and 1225. So what does that tell me? That tells me that was the first one. That was the first one. That was the first fully completed Torah. Okay, that's what that tells me. So who wrote it? It was Moses. Nobody knows who wrote the Bologna Torah. They don't know who wrote the Bologna Torah. They know who wrote the Mishneh. They know who wrote the Mishneh. So that's who wrote the first 5 books of Moses, and that's where you get the start of the Bible, or the start of the Torah. So before we get there, right there, the reason I wanted to bring this up is because Judaism is the primordial European religion on the planet. Okay, so if you destroy the religion of Judaism, then you destroy the rest of them. You destroy Christianity and Islam all in once. But so that's why I wanted to start with Maimonides and Lorenzo Valla. Okay. Now let's get into Columbus's expedition. Okay, because like I said before, the Crusades were a bad time for Europeans. It was a very bad time. Okay, they got their asses whooped all the way into the Dark Ages. Okay, they got their asses fucked up all the way into the Dark Ages. Okay, at some point, Queen Isabella, the Queen of Spain at the time in 1492, she commissioned Columbus to find a new world, because they might have had to leave. That's how bad it was getting. They might have had to leave. So she commissioned him to find somewhere else where their people could settle. Okay, this is when he went on his voyage to the New World, and this is where he made contact with the Taino Indian tribe. What's very important about when he called these people Indian, okay? He didn't call them Indian. He called them Indigo, okay? Now, Indigo means blue-black, okay? Now, any black people, you most likely heard the term before somewhere, you're so black, you're blue. That's where the term indigo comes from, okay? That's where Indian comes from, the American translate or the English translation of indigo. Okay, and he committed grand atrocities, of course, and kicked off all other expeditions to the New World. Began chattel slavery in the New World, but never set foot in North America, and that's very important. The reason why America is called America is because of a guy named Amerigo Vespucci, which was actually Columbus's one of Columbus's right, or he was Columbus's right hand man. Amerigo Vespucci was the first guy to make it all the way into Florida, and that's why we call it America, America, because of Amerigo. Okay, this led to a race to colonization. Okay, this led to a race to colonization. Oh shit. Okay, so motherfuckers is all over, coming from Spain. Now Spain was ahead of everybody, so everybody else had to try to catch up. You know what I'm saying? Britain, Russia tried to catch up. France tried to catch up. Portugal tried to catch up. The Netherlands tried to catch up, but it was very hard. So the United States of America, like the pilgrims who came, were really last on the list, and even the Chinese were over here. See this? That's where this is about. Even the Chinese were over here taking up a little bit of land. So where you get your modern day Latino or Mexican, Latin American, you know what I'm saying? Where you get them from is from the Native American Indian black people, okay, that were there. The Chinese folks that were there, as well as the Mongoloid Native Americans, and the Spanish. Okay, because you see Spain, they conquered pretty much all of Mexico, right? All of Mexico, all the way damn near down, all the way into Argentina and Chile and all that, right? So yeah, that's how you get the modern day Spanish. You mix basically the Mongoloids with a mulatto African or an African and a Spanish person. And that's how you get your modern Mexican. That's where they come from. That's why y'all look like y'all can have like the slanted eyes, or y'all can have darker skin, curly hair, things like that. That's where you get those traits from. So remember that we all family now. All right. Now let's get into the Protestant Reformation, because this is what made the Pilgrims come over. Okay, this is Protestant Reformation. It was a schism. Remember what a schism is? It's a big debate, a heated ass debate between two very big ideas. Okay, so now the schism of the 16th century that created Protestantism. Okay, now Martin Luther protested the Catholic Church, which was the creation of Protestantism, which is why they call it Protestantism, because they were protesting. Okay, they were protesting the Catholic Church, is why they were called Protestants. King James commissioned the creation of the KJV, the King James version of the Bible, and turmoil led to Protestants and separatists leaving. Okay, and we all know about the Atlantic slave trade. Okay, I'm not even going to go through it. I'm not even going to go through it. I'm not going to go through it because we already know. That they made sure that we would never forget slavery. They made sure they pounded it into our heads. Okay, now remember, they always just tell us, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, we had slaves, and whenever y'all tried to run, we caught y'all asses and whooped y'all asses, and there was only a few of y'all that were able to get away, but and it wasn't until good white people, stood up and were like, enough's enough. Okay, we're tired of slavery. Okay, and we want you to stop it. Damn it, the government, you, goddamn it, you. Okay, that's what white people today want you to believe, especially white liberals. Okay, now let's get into it. Who's heard of the Gullah Wars? I'll wait. Who's heard of the Gullah Wars? Nobody? Let me go ahead and break it down for you, player. The Gullah Wars was a series of wars between the U.S. military and the Gullahs, who were native Indians and runaway African slaves. Okay. Now, one of the biggest lies they told you was that slaves ran to the north. Okay, that couldn't be further from the truth. Slaves ran to the south. Why would you run to the north when it's just a bunch more racist white people up there? You want to go to the south where it's darker, right? Where it's hotter. Why would you want to go to where it's colder? Like that's what it doesn't make sense, right? So they ran to Florida, okay, to take up arms with the Seminole Indians. Okay, now the Seminole Indians were pretty much a group that were they got armed by the Spaniards. They were like their own militia. So when the Spanish armed the Seminoles helped arm African runaway slaves. And what they did together was they fought from Florida, came through Florida, right? They fought all the way up into Canada, my nigga. All the way up into Canada, my nigga. Then they started going west with it. They said, we're going west with it, nigga. Went all the way up, nigga, slaughter, butcher and shit, all the way up the East Coast, all the way across the Great Lakes, down into the South, through Texas, my nigga. Like, you got to understand that we were severely outnumbered, severely outgunned, and it didn't seem like there was hope for us, right? It didn't seem like there was hope. There was a battle between 200 Gullah warriors and 1,000 of the United States military, and the Gullahs whooped that ass, and they only lost 3 people. 3 people, okay? They whooped that ass. Okay? Now, around the time, around the 1840s through 50s, the war started breaking down, okay? Because before the 1840s and 50s, they the runaway slaves would come to the Gullahs, and they would tell them where the plantation that they came from was. And the Gullahs, they would slide to that plantation, right? They slide to that plantation, and they would murder everything white. Anything that was moving and white, they murdered it. Okay, that's what they did. That was their plan. And they did that for 100 years on end, until the South gave up, or until the military gave up, and this led to the creation of the Republican Party. Okay. Now, the Republican Party was founded March 20th, 1854, okay, as an anti-slavery party, okay? The Republican Party consisted of America's first black senators, representatives, and they successfully ended slavery, okay? Let's get into the Dawes Commission, because the Dawes Commission is very important, okay? Dawes Commission is very important. Now, why is it important? Because after the Civil War, we all know what happened in the Civil War. That's why I didn't even put it in here. Because we all know what happened in the Civil War. So after the Civil War, it led to Reconstruction. Okay? Now, Reconstruction was it was supposed to benefit black people because we had fought the Gullah Wars. That's why we were deserving of reparations, not because of slavery in itself, even though that was one thing in itself that we already deserved reparations for, but it was for the war that we had waged on the people of America, that or not the people that we had waged on the government of America, that really made the need for reparations to be tenfold, right? Now that's when the U.S. government came up with the Dawes Commission. So they would pretty much give away the land that was meant to be for the Black Indians. Okay, these Black Indians right here. They were giving away the land and giving away spots on the commission to white people, Chinese people, Spanish people, and they were giving them away for $5. This is where the term $5 Indian comes from. Okay, and then with this, with the Dawes Commission, they created the 5 civilized tribes, and they also took away the Seminole tribe, which was the part of the tribe that helped us in the Gullah Wars, right? So that's what the Dawes Commissions were for. That's why when you look back in the day, you will see the Black Indians, and they'll look like this, and you'll see yeah they have straight hair, but the difference between this hair and her hair, right? Her hair, right? The difference is that Black people have flocculus, okay? Our hair rises, okay? Our hair can pretty much be made and molded to shape to whatever shape we wanted. That's why our hair was able to look like this. And, the queen's hair was able to look like that, right? But now you got Native Americans that look like this. Where the fuck did these people come from? These ain't no indigos. These ain't no indigos, right? These ain't no fucking indigos. Let's get into the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party, the KKK, and Jim Crow. Okay, now the Democratic Party was founded in 1820. Okay, they supported slavery. Okay, now the Northern Democrats wanted slavery to be a choice for all the new states coming in, which is why, which is really why they were created, because they were supposed to be like the party of choice, basically. But the Southern Democrats wanted slavery to be legal in every state. Okay. Now the Democratic Party started the KKK to run blacks out of the Republican Party and to pretty much politically bully the Republican Party. Right. Now here's a summary. This is from the Britannica Encyclopedia. Formed in 1865 as a secret lodge by former Confederates in Pulaski, Tennessee, the Invisible Empire, or Ku Klux Klan, has been and remains committed to white supremacy in America. Klansmen, beside other diehard groups, violently resisted Reconstruction. Still defending the South, they fought Union Army occupation, Republican governments, and blacks' freedom. Donning hoods and using secret titles, they took an oath to defend Christianity, the Constitution, and the white race, especially their women's purity. Loyal to the Democratic Party, the Klan enlisted men and women from all classes, targeting Union leagues or freedmen's political clubs. Night riders harassed and often killed Black and Republican voters and office holders. Burned Black churches and schools, intimidated teachers, and stole elections. In the 1868 elections, alongside Knights of the White Camellia, they murdered 1,000 Black and white Republicans in Louisiana alone. After its investigation, Congress passed the Ku Klux Klan Act in 1871, but undermanned Union garrisons rarely stopped the Klan's plunder. Its terrorism during the election of 1876 hastened Reconstruction's end. Okay, so they ended Reconstruction. They didn't want niggas to get that land. Okay, that was the whole reason for that, right? Now between 1877 and 1910, the KKK fueled Democrats' push to establish one party rule and Jim Crow. A coalition of Democrats, Klansmen, red shirts, rifle clubs, and white leagues targeted freedmen and their allies, utilizing ballot fraud, intimidation, and murder. Some 1,751 blacks were lynched in southern and border states um, from 1882 to 1900s, as black and white farmers alliances and the Populist Party coalesced for reform. Defeat of populists by ballot rigging and terror enabled Democrats, as the Supreme Court instituted the separate but equal rule, to enact Jim Crow. The system disenfranchised and terrorized blacks. It also persecuted Jews, Catholics, and non-white immigrants. Um, Klan people promoted white racism in the 20th century. Early on, they enlisted members with the birth of Birth of a Nation, which was a movie from 1915, a film glorifying the Klan's bloody defeat of Reconstruction. By the mid 1920s, the second KKK claimed several million members in more than a dozen states. Affiliates were strong in the Midwest, being more anti-Catholic and more anti-immigrant there than in the South. State and local clans frequently attacked progressives prior to the Civil Rights Act of 1957, which ensured the right to vote. Now, you got to remember that when they're using progressives, uh, they're not talking about um, white liberals like you might think. They're not talking about the Democratic Party today because they weren't considered progressives. Okay, the Republican Party was technically considered the progressive party. Okay, because they because they were the anti-slavery party, because they didn't believe in a centralized government, things like that. They believe in the states' rights. So that's how the KKK got started, and that's what they were used for all the way up to the 1950s, right? The Black Codes were started 2 years after the Civil War ended. They were replaced by Jim Crow laws in 1896, following the separate but equal ruling of the Ferguson versus Plessy. They began to employ economic regulations and sanctions that were meant to directly impact the black community, i.e., unions, licensing fees, and child labor laws. Okay, now hold on, y'all. 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 Let me pull out. Let me pull out real quick so you can understand. So you can understand me real quick. Okay. Now, for some reason, put it right there. Okay. Now, for some reason, black people want to think, they want to believe so bad in their hearts that all these things, like the unions and the licensing fees and child labor laws, they were invented to help us. When in all reality, unions and licensing fees, child labor laws, they were actually used to disrupt black economic prosperity. Okay, because what unions did is they forced a minimum wage, right? That's what unions really did. They were there to basically say nobody gets to work for less than everybody else, right? Now, why is that important? Because if you are, say, a railroad owner in the 1890s, right, and you have white men coming and they say they want to work for you, right? But those white men, they want to work for you for $2 an hour. Okay, they want $2 an hour. Now, you can hire them, but this black kid came in yesterday and said that he will work and do the exact same shit that these white people are talking about for $1.30, right? $1.30 an hour. That's a 70 cent decrease in price. What's the smart businessman gonna do? What's the smart businessman gonna do? He's gonna go for that cheaper labor. He's gonna go for that cheaper labor because he's gonna get richer like that, right? That's what the unions were created for, because black people were willing to work for significantly less than white people were, and we were by consequence taking jobs. Like, we were taking all their jobs, right? So that's what the unions were created for. And licensing fees, I had to take this time so I could break this down for y'all, because I already know that this was probably the slide that it's gonna lose some of y'all. So I got licensing fees. Okay, you used to be able to buy an automobile, right? You used to be able to buy an automobile and write taxi on a piece of paper, put it in your windshield, and now you're a taxi. Now you're able to make money. Now you're able to feed your family, right? That's all you needed to do. Licensing fees made it so that you couldn't just do that. You couldn't just start your own taxi service. You couldn't just start your own barber service, your own salon service. You got to go get certified first. You got to go pay them fees first. You got to get a business license first. Things like that. And child labor laws, that's basically because we had kids helping us sweep up the shop for, you know what I'm saying, I don't know, 20 cents, fucking some soda, some candy every here and there. And that became illegal. Okay. So we weren't able to do that anymore. We weren't even able to hire our kids in our own shops anymore. So we weren't really able to build an economic ground. Okay, that's what all these laws, rules, regulations, that's what they were for. So that way they could handicap the black movement. All right, let's get back into this. Now I put this here because this is very important, because what a lot of niggas do is a lot of niggas they realize that Christianity is a farce, which it is. It's most definitely a fucking farce, right? That's what a lot of niggas, they realize Christianity is a farce, and then they run one or two places. They'll either run and start to try to claim that they're an Israelite, or they'll run to Islam. Okay, the NOI in specific, because niggas really don't practice Islam. Okay, like the shit that niggas practice over here and say is Islam, y'all go over there to Mecca practicing that shit. Y'all go over there to Mecca talking about you're on the same level as the niggas over there. And watch how fast they scatter your body parts. Okay, watch how fast they scatter your stupid ass. Okay, because it was a setup. Okay, they created setups for us to get caught in every time we tried to leave their institution of control, be it from their religious standpoint, educational standpoint, political standpoint. Anytime you tried to leave that, they wanted to have a bunch of barriers that we had to go through mentally. There's levels to this shit, right? So there's a bunch of levels that you have to get through in order to get fully out of the Abrahamic religion trifecta of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, because they all worship the same God and they all go back to the same shit, right? Now, the creation of Islam / the AIU, right? Now, the AIU is the Allied Israelite Universelle, okay? They were founded in 1860 to, quote, safeguard the human rights of Jews, okay? What they really were doing they were trying to advance the Jews from, quote, persecution in the Middle East, okay? So what they were doing, they basically created like which is exactly what white people in the 17th century did with the Renaissance era. They created history. They were creating history for themselves, and they were creating a different subjects. They were creating schools that could teach children about Judaism, and the AIU. The AIU was also responsible for creating the world's first Quran, because remember earlier I told you that there was no Islam before 1919. There was no Islam in the Arab world. Okay, matter of fact, Islam didn't even exist, period. Okay, because you can't have Islam without the Quran. Okay, Islam is a religion based on the Quran. So unless you have the Quran, you cannot have Islam. Okay, you can't. It's that's just the way that shit works. I don't care how you feel about it. So, like I said, the AIU created the first Quran, and the Quran was accepted by the Arab world in 1919. And the World Muslim Congress held their first meeting 7 years after that. Okay, 7 years after that, and A couple of years after 1926, maybe 4 or 5 years, William Fard Muhammad moved from Mecca to Detroit, okay, and founded the NOI with his protege Elijah Muhammad. Okay. Now, on our next live on my next live stream, I'm gonna go over in specifics, pretty much about religion period and where the NOI comes from and stems from. But we're kind of doing a crash course today, so bear with me. But that's where the NOI came from. It came from this guy right here. That's who William Fard Muhammad is. Okay, this white dude right here. He moved from Mecca. Okay, moved from Mecca. Okay, to Detroit and started teaching an idiosyncratic version of Islam called and started the Nation of Islam and basically set y'all niggas up. Because if you take your motherfucking ass over there talking about you NOI, you know what I'm saying, you big Elijah Muhammad, you big Farrakhan, all that, they just might drag your ass by your big toe. They just might drag your ass by a hook on your big toe. Okay? They just might. Now let's get to the NAACP and the Civil Rights Movement. Okay? Now the NAACP was founded by white liberals and black scholars, right? But the black scholars they used were people like W.E.B. Du Bois. He was one of them light-skinned niggas that can pass white. I don't know if you ever heard about passing white, but a lot of light-skinned men and women back in the day used to do is they would dye their hair, they would perm their shit, relax their shit, do whatever they could so that way they could pass for white. Okay, and that was the pretty much the goal of the NAACP. Okay, the goal was to make black people want to pass for white. They were to assimilate black culture to the United States government. Okay, and they destroyed communities to do so. They initiated the Civil Rights Movement. Okay, this is when we get into the Malcolm and Martin Luther King dynamic. Okay, because Martin Luther King was a bitch ass nigga. Okay, Martin Luther King was a bitch ass nigga. You know who this is? Jacob Rothschild. Okay, Jacob Rothschild. He's one of them. He's part of the Rothschild family. Like you don't get no closer to the elite than the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. You don't get any closer to the elites because they are part of the Lombards. Okay, and we're gonna go over the Lombards when we talk about the financial system. That's gonna be next week. Please be here on Saturday, okay, next week, so we can talk about the financial system and the Lombards and where the Jews come from, okay, and why they're so important and how they started World War II. Whew. All right, like I said, he's over here accepting his prize from Jacob Rothschild. And these were the people that commissioned him. You know what I'm saying, to the black community, because the black people didn't like Martin Luther King. Black people actually hated Martin Luther King. Black people didn't accept Martin Luther King until after he died. Okay, it was only white Americans and those niggas that wanted to be with the white Americans. You know what I'm saying? Fucking with this nigga, because besides that, black people were like, bro, we just fought off the United States government, and now you want us to be a part of the United States government. You're talking. You want us to have equal rights and be seen equally under the government when we don't even respect it. And that was the whole dynamic. That was the schism, if you would, of the 50s and the 60s, the MLK and Malcolm dynamic, right? Now, hold on. Let me exit real quick because for some reason it's not gonna let me play it in there. So let's get into that video right there. Okay, get into that video. Okay. What did Malcolm X have to say about white liberals and Malcolm, which were basically Martin Luther King's homies? They were his partners. They were the ones who were pushing him to the white community. You know, racism bad. If you don't like Martin Luther King, then you're a racist. That's what they did. Let's listen. Hold on. Hmm. Hmm. All praises to the God. All praises to the God. Now, Malcolm X, he fell under the auspices of the NOI, but later in his life, he ended up leaving the NOI. And he was killed for it. Okay. Uh, Anybody speaking truth to power will be murdered eventually. The reason why Martin Luther King was murdered and martyred was because he stopped with all the civil rights talk. He eventually said, which is why I have more respect for the man that Martin Luther King became, rather than the man that he was during his civil rights campaign, right? Because during the latter years of his life, he understood, he realized that he might have, and he said this himself, that he might have integrated his people into a burning house. And then he even said, like, it's time that we go get that check. And he was talking about reparations, right? Shortly afterwards, while he was working with the workers in working with the labor movement in Memphis, he was killed. Okay, he was killed. So as long as you're following the rules, they have nothing. They'll have they'll make you feel good. You know what I'm saying? They might call you a king. They might even absolve you of the responsibility that you have as a human being to take care of yourself and your family, and they want you to believe that it's all on white America, okay, to fix the problems of Black America, okay. That's what they want you to believe, okay. Hold on. Now let's talk about the aftermath of the civil rights movement and the conclusion, leading into what we'll be talking about Wednesday and Saturday of next week. Okay. So the president of Lyndon B. Johnson saw the initial decline of Black America, and Lyndon B. Johnson became president right after John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Um, after then the FBI, they invaded the black community, you know what I'm saying, flooded the streets with drugs. Section 8 made single parent homes increase in the black community. Gang violence then erupted. And now black people own less than 1% of the wealth in America, despite being 12% of the population. Okay. So we've been following these democratic and liberal policies, and you look all over America, you look at any of the blackest cities in America, and you will see who are their mayors, who's the mayor, who's the governor, who's the, you know what I'm saying, who's sitting on the boards over there. It's all Democrats. It's all Democrats, and for the last 50 years, while we've been following these motherfuckers, they have depleted our wealth from what it was before to less than 1%. And by 2050, they expect us to have nothing. They expect us to have negative wealth, actually. So this is where we're going, y'all. This is where we're going. This was a very important presentation for me to do, because you got to understand who were the players and who was involved, and why are we here. Okay, like I said, black people are the primordial being on the planet. We're the first ones here. Okay, we're the first ones to circumnavigate the planet by boat. By boat. Okay, that's how we knew that the Earth was round. Okay, we were the first to do so many amazing things, and we're still able to do all these amazing things. Black people alone fought back the entire United States government. Okay, during the Gullah Wars, they knew that in order to make sure that we didn't do that again, they had to flood our minds with their education, their religion, their media, things, those things. Like you that they had to, because if they didn't do that, then they couldn't have taken control, and black people will be in a very different place right now. Okay, but they used everything in their playbook, from intimidation tactics to subversion in the community, planting moles in the community. They've done everything that they could to destroy what foothold we had in this nation, and they're hoping that we never know, that we never find out what they did. So they're acting like they're on your side right now. But as soon as you start telling these white people, your white liberal friends, that they don't have white privilege, that they're not the ones who will save black people, the white people can't save black people. That's the whole point. Okay, the white people have been telling black people that they were going to save us since the day that they came into Egypt. Okay, since the day that they came into Egypt with Alexander the Great, the Greek, and slaughtered our ancestors. Okay, ever since those days. Okay, they've been on the same shit, saying that they were going to help us, saying that their way was the right way. Okay, and that only black people or only white people could get black people out of the situation that they were in, because white people created the problem, when that couldn't be further from the truth. Okay, there were a lot of niggas along the way that helped white people get to where they are. There's a lot of niggas right now in the country today helping white people stay where they are. Okay, and those are the niggas that we need to be going after. Okay, niggas like Will Smith. Okay, these Hollywood niggas. Okay, these rap niggas who've been out of the rap game for 20 years, yet they still talking about selling drugs and killing niggas, knowing they ain't ever sold a goddamn drug in their life, or popped a fucking, or squeezed a goddamn trigger a day in their fucking lives. Also, they can make that shit seem cool to young niggas like us, and so we could kill each other. They only promote self deprecating music. They only promote media that's harmful to the black community. Nothing that would actually help us. That's why you see niggas today trying to just usurp white people shit. You got niggas drawing black kings and queens of England and trying to insert black people into Danish and fucking Norse and Greek mythology and shit like that. Like now niggas are so far gone. Niggas have lost their way, their righteous minds. So and it's so far gone that now we don't know where we came from, so we're just gonna start resorting to the same shit that these white people resorted to. Just taking deities that they came up with, taking gods they came up with, myths that they came up with, folklore that they came up with, and trying to put our faces there. This is what we have to stop, Black America. This is what we have to get rid of. We're so much more. We're so much more. We're so much more. Okay. So let me come out. Hold on. All right. Thank you for tuning in today. I appreciate you guys for sticking around with your boy. Okay. I hope that y'all were able to kind of understand where it is that I'm coming from when it comes to where Black Americans are today. Okay, so-called Black Americans, because we didn't become black until they became white, and they didn't become white until the 14th, 15th century. Okay, that's when they became white, and that's when we became black. Because before that, we were African. Before that, we were Egyptos. Okay, before that, we were Antiquitists. Okay, before we were ever black anything, we were the golden people, children of the sun. That's where we got to get back to. Okay, that's where we're getting back to. Okay, so like I said, I appreciate you all for kicking it with your boy today on this Saturday night. I know y'all could be out doing anything else, but y'all decided to kick it with me, and I appreciate that. Y'all have a good rest of y'all night. I'll see you on Wednesday, and I'll see you on Saturday. On Wednesday, I'm gonna be premiering part 2, or technically part 3 of why Black America is still behind, but part 2 of today's video, which is basically going to cover the last 50 years of politics in America from 72 to 2022. And then on Saturday, we're going to discuss the Lombards. So we're going to get into the financial system, which is one of my favorite things to talk about. So once again, thank you guys for kicking it with your boy live. It's your boy Son of Egypt. All right. And we out this bitch.